It was cheesecake. That's the part that still stings. A perfectly plated slice. Strawberry glaze dripping down the side, like stage blood, and she said it as if she were commenting on the weather. I wish you were never born. The table burst into laughter. Forks clinked against porcelain. My aunt dabbed her mouth with a napkin like she'd just heard the funniest joke of the century. My cousins chuckled, wine glazed and complicit. Everyone laughed except me. I set my fork down slowly, blade edge, perfectly aligned with the plate's rim. My heart was racing, but my face calm, serene, a mask I perfected over the years. And then, with a smile so thin it could cut glass, I delivered my one line. Well, I said, tapping the fork against the plate once, sharp and clean. That explains everything, doesn't it? The laughter died like someone had hit a mute button. Forks froze midair. Chairs squeaked. She stared at me, eyes flickering with the realization that her punchline had just imploded. I pushed my plate forward, stood up, and walked out. I didn't need dessert anymore. I had something better. Clarity. Here's the thing about my mother. She was always performative, cruelty wrapped in good. China, to the outside world, she was charming, witty, the woman who hosted dinner parties with fresh flowers and chilled Chardonnay. To me, she was a demolition crew with lipstick. There were always little red flags hidden in plain sight. When I got into my first choice university, she said, "Don't get cocky. You'll probably drop out." When I bought my first car, used dented, but mine, she smirked. Well, let's hope it doesn't explode. Money was her favorite weapon. I paid my own way through college, working double shifts, while my brother, her golden child, got tuition covered plus emergency funds that somehow translated into ski trips. I laughed it off back then, called myself the self-made sibling. Truth, I was just the understudy in her little family theater. And yet, like every fool, desperate for applause, I kept showing up. Birthdays, holidays, dinners, waiting for one kind word, one crumb of approval. But every year the crumbs turned into ashes until dessert night, until cheesecake. Walking out wasn't an accident. It was an ignition. That night I went home, poured myself a stiff drink, and opened a blank document on my laptop. Title, Exit Strategy. Step 1, pack, not clothes. That would be too easy. I packed the things that mattered. The watch my grandfather left me. The photo album she pretended didn't exist. The silver fountain pen I'd bought with my first paycheck. Little relics of my own worth. Step 2, finances. I closed the joint account I'd stupidly let her access for emergencies. I rerouted my direct deposits. Every penny I had earned was now mine alone. No more invisible siphoning. Step 3, silence. I stopped calling, stopped answering. I blocked her number like it was spam, because in a way it was just emotional malware. I was no longer the unpaid extra in her production. I was about to become the director. 2 weeks later, I sent a single package to her doorstep, inside a shoebox filled with every birthday card she'd ever given me, most of them in signed generic Hallmark. Things with "Love Mom" scribbled like an afterthought. I taped a note on top. Don't worry, I finally got the joke. No return address, no call, just a sound. of my box hitting her welcome mat at 6:45 a.m. when the courier dropped it. Off. Neighbors saw it. She couldn't spin. It, for the first time, she was holding the weight of her own dismissals neatly, cataloged and returned. And me, I felt lighter than I had in years. Then came the calls. Midnight voicemails dripping with rage. How dare you humiliate me? Followed by desperate ones. I was joking. Can't you take a joke? And then the family chorus. Aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone suddenly a messenger. Maybe you should apologize. One cousin whispered, "She's your mother." Another said as if that word was a spell that erased decades of rot. I stayed calm. My responses were surgical. I don't owe anyone an audience, or respect is an A. Birthright. It's earned. Every call ended with them frustrated, sputtering, scrambling for control they no longer had, and every time I felt the ground tilt more in my favor. The escalation came swift and sloppy. One evening, she tried showing up at my apartment, unannounced. The landlord called me. She's downstairs banging on the door, screaming your name. I didn't flinch. I called the police calmly, clearly like I was reporting a noise complaint. They escorted her off the property. Neighbors, peeking through blinds, whispers already, spreading. The queen of the dinner table, reduced to a tabloid headline in our own building. But her true unraveling came at Thanksgiving. My brother tried, hosting a grand family feast, and she showed up dressed to kill, hairsprayed, pearls on display. She raised her glass for a toast, voice trembling with rehearsed authority. And then it happened. She cracked. My own child turned on me. She spat her mascara, bleeding under the weight of her. Meltdown. Gasps circled the table. My brother buried his face in his hands. It wasn't my scene anymore. It was hers. Her public undoing, and I was just an observer in the front row. I never went back. My holidays are quiet now, filled with friends who actually laugh with me. Not at me. My phone doesn't buzz at midnight with demands or insults. My bank account is untouched, mine alone. And her, she never spoke to me again, just as I promised myself the night of the cheesecake. Here's what I learned. Sometimes walking away isn't weakness. It's the loudest thing you can do. Revenge doesn't always need fire and fury. Sometimes it's a shoe box on a doorstep. Sometimes it's silence. And sometimes it's as simple as putting down your fork, standing up and deciding you'll never eat at their table.